Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome for this session in the afternoon. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Desha Tarini He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in the morning we had finished till shloka number 6 where we saw that mind is both the friend also and enemy also. So the controlled mind will be a friend and an uncontrolled mind will be the enemy of the soul. And the mind is the best friend of friends, where one who has conquered that mind. And the mind could be the greatest enemy if one has failed to conquer the mind. So after saying this, Krishna is giving certain symptoms of a person who's in the yoga rudha stage. So let's see from shloka number 7. जितात्मनः प्रशन्तास्य परमात्मा समाहितः शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखेषु तथा मान अपमानयोः. Somebody read the translation.
Hare Krishna Mataji, can I read?
Sure. Yes, Prabhu, you can read.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Translation: for one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. Purport, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Actually, every living entity is intended to abide by the dictation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is seated in everyone's heart as Paramatma. When the mind is misled by the external illusionary energy, one becomes entangled in material activities. Therefore, as soon as one's mind is controlled through one of the yoga system, one should be considered to have already reached the destination. One has to abide by superior dictation. When one's mind is fixed on the superior nature, he has no alternative but to follow the dictation of the Supreme. The mind must admit some superior dictation and follow it. The effect of controlling the mind is that one automatically follows the dictation of the Paramatma or Super Soul. Because this transcendental position is at the once achieved by one who is in Krishna consciousness. The devotee of the Lord is unaffected by the dualities of material existence, namely distress and happiness, cold and heat, etc. This state is practically samadhi or absorption in the Supreme. Haribol.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. So he's saying over here, jitatmanaha prashantasya. So when he says jitatmanaha means, if you see the translation over here, that one who has conquered the mind. Then what happens to such a person? Prashantasya. Sorry. Prashantasya. He's saying prashantasya means that person becomes shanta. He becomes very peaceful. And not only peaceful, but he becomes deeply peaceful. And such a person has approached, or he's gone more closer to the Paramatma, or and that and he's saying over there that Samahitam Sita Ushna Sukha Dukheshu. So if you see this this transcendental soul, the Paramatma Samhitam. So this, in the verse, this BG, where he's saying that where Paramatma word is used. So before this also, there has been a reference to this, the word absolute truth or Paramatma, but the absolute truth was not specifically named as Paramatma. But over here now, the absolute truth is specifically named as Paramatma. And then later, in I think the 13th chapter, he mentions that Krishna will say that who is this Paramatma? So in the 13th chapter, where he says that, I think it is 13.3. I forget the shloka number. Upadrishta Anumantam cha Bharata Bhokta Maheshwara. Somewhere third one.
Hare Krishna Mataji, it's 23 verses. I think 23 verses. 23, 23, 23.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. So, Upadrishta Numanta cha Bharata Bhokta Maheshwaram Paramatmeti chapi yukto Dehesmin Purusha Para. So, he's saying that yet in this body there is another transcendental enjoyer who is the Lord, the Supreme Proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter. Overseer, yani he is actually seeing whatever activities I'm doing, he's seeing that, and then he's sanctioning also. He's giving permission also. And who is known as the super soul. So now he will refer to where he's staying in this body. So there is this transcendental Purusha, and that person is the overseer and the permitter. He's the enjoyer and the maintainer also. And that is known as this Paramatmeti Cha Api Yukto, where he's saying in this particular shloka. So exactly who is Paramatma is known, but now this is the first reference to the word Paramatman. And so Krishna is saying that the super soul is right next to us, but the soul has turned away. And the soul is looking where he's not looking inward, he's looking outward to the material world. And because it wanted to enjoy this material world. So what is causing the soul to enjoy in the material world? Actually, it's the mind that is causing him to enjoy. And it is, this mind is filled with fantasy of this material enjoyment. मैं ऐसा करूंगा, मैं वैसा करूंगा, I'll do this, I'll do that. And this mind is dragging the soul away. So when we bring the mind under control, what happens is that force which is dragging us away, it is directing us away from the super soul. That force becomes actually subsided, or it subsides, and then we can turn towards Krishna. मन बिल्कुल तीव्र गति से हमें भौतिकता की तरफ ले जा रहा है, और क्योंकि वो हमें बहुत तीव्रता से भौतिकता की तरफ ले जा रहा है, इसलिए हम भगवान की तरफ शरणागत नहीं हो पा रहे. वी आर नॉट एबल टू सरेंडर टू द सुप्रीम लॉर्ड इन toto or 100%. So Krishna is telling over here that Jitatmana, one who has conquered this mind, is prashantasya. He has he has attained this tranquility. He has attained control over the mind. And because why? Because the mind is always putting us into agitation. This is wrong, that is wrong, this is not proper, that is not proper. So when the mind is controlled, then prashantasya, we will become very much peaceful. And when we are peaceful, then we are not very, we don't become excited by the hopes and pleasures of this particular world. So then what will happen is, we will turn towards we'll turn from the outer world to the inner world, and we will become Paramatma Samhitaha. So we will, we will be approaching the Supreme Lord or the Super Soul in toto. And then the character of that particular person is that he is not too much affected or excited by this duality of this world. He in cold also he is equal, in heat also is equal, happiness, distress, he is he is completely equipoised, you can say. So if you see these Sita and Ushna, Sita is cold and Ushna is heat. So Sitoshna is that level of the body where heat and cold, which is actually at a physical level. And over here, if you see Dukkheshu and Sukheshu. So Sukha Dukkha is on the mental level, and then Man Apman is at the level of ego. Honor and dishonor, Man Apman. So all the three levels, the physical level, the mental level, and the ego level, all these three dualities one person is transcending. So and how is he transcending? By just controlling the mind. तो फिर मान अपमान आपको इतना हिट नहीं करेगा, right? So going to the next, we'll just check with the next shloka. So now he's saying, because see over here what he has said, that he told that Jitatmana prashantasya, okay, and now he will be saying that ज्ञान विज्ञान तृप्तात्मा कुटस्थो विजितेन्द्रिय युक्त इति उच्यते योगी समलोष्ट्राश्म कांचनः. Somebody read the translation and purport both.
Yeah, Mataji, can I read?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, a person to be established in the self-realization is called a yogi. When he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization, such a person is situated in the transcendence and self-control. He sees everything, whether it is pebbles or stones or gold, as same. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The book knowledge without realization of supreme truth is useless, as this is stated below. अतः श्री कृष्ण नामादि न भावेत ग्राहम इंद्रिये सेवन मुखे ही जीवादो स्वयमेव स्फुरता. No one can understand the transcendental nature of the name, form, quality, and pastime of Sri Krishna, although his materially contaminated senses. Only when one becomes spiritually saturated by the transcendental service of the Lord, our transcendental name, form, quality, and pastime of Lord revealed him. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This Bhagavad Gita is the science of Krishna consciousness. No one can become Krishna conscious by simply by mundane scholarship. One must be fortunate enough to associate with a person who is pure in the consciousness. A Krishna conscious person has realized knowledge by the grace of Krishna because he is satisfied with pure devotional service. By the realized knowledge, one becomes perfect. By transcendental knowledge, one can remain steady in his conviction. But by mere academic knowledge, one can be easily deluded by and confused by apparent contradiction. It is the realized soul who is actually self-controlled because he is surrendered to Krishna. He is transcendental because he is nothing to do with his mundane scholarship. For him, the mundane scholarship and the mental speculation, which may be as good as gold to others, but are no greater value than pebbles and stones.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. So see, what he's saying over here is, he's saying that Jnana Vijnana Tript Atma, one who has got knowledge, Gyan, and one who has got Vigyan, one who has got realization. So Vigyan means, so when he's got Gyan and Vigyan, then what does he become? Such a person will become Tripta Atma. He'll become satisfied. And such a person is Kutasto. If you see the translation, he says that he's become spiritually situated and not materially disturbed. So, and he is Vijita Indriya. So that person has conquered the senses. He has completely conquered those senses. Who has conquered the senses? One who has got Gyan and Vigyan, and one who is satisfied. That person has, controlled the senses, and he is Yukta. He is competent for self-realization, or he is well situated. He is well connected also. And so he is well competent for what? He is competent for self-realization. This is what Prabhupada is saying over here, that he is competent for self-realization. And then he's saying, iti uchyate yogi. And that person is having equal vision to material things. Sama, loshtra, ashma, kanchanaha. So he's saying that person having equal vision to, pebbles also, and gold also, and stones also. Ashma, pebbles, stone, and gold. And because these all are invaluable. So, of course, gold is has a little value. Gold is precious, but gold is invaluable, whereas stone is not much value. Its value is less. Then somebody might have said that how come somebody sees gold and stone? How can somebody see gold and stone equally? So, what it means is that one does not imagine that all these worldly things will make me happy. One understands that for me as a soul, neither gold or stone should matter, and neither of them can make me happy. They are both material things, and with material things, you cannot get spiritual happiness, because gold and stone are material, but I am a spiritual person, and the person who is spiritual cannot be satisfied cannot be satisfied by anything material. And that is why what happens, this person becomes detached, and he becomes samalostra ashma kanchanaha. So if you see, Prabhupada is writing that book knowledge without realization. So that is why he's saying is competent for self-realization. So book knowledge without realization of the supreme truth is absolutely useless. And useless. Why he's saying useless? Because it is not going to bring any satisfaction. It is not going to bring any, in fact, it is not going to bring even any transformation. It will not bring even purification. And that is why it is useless. So it's not going to bring any transformation. It's not going to bring any satisfaction. It's not going to bring any purification also. And that is why Prabhupada is actually giving this quote over here. Atashri Krishna Namadi na bhavet graham indriya. Sevan mukhe hi jivhadu swayameva spurati adaha. This is from the Nectar of Devotion. Srila Prabhupada has taken Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, which we'll be seeing actually in some of our sessions. So the name and other paraphernalia will not be, bhavet grahayam indriya. So means that grahayam means to be, to be accepted or to be understood. And indriya means, our gross senses, which are materially contaminated senses. So we cannot understand this. Na bhavet. And but sevan mukhe hi jivhadu adahu. So he's saying that in the beginning, jivha, so service. So how will service begin? Service begins with jivha, the tongue. And then what happens with this tongue, this jivha? We will become unmukh. Sevan mukhe. Unmukhe. So we will become unmukh, means currently we all are vimukh from Shri Krishna, and our face is not towards Krishna. Our face is away from Krishna, means our back is towards Krishna. So so by rendering service to Krishna and with consciousness that Krishna, I wanted to come closer to you, so service will change our complete, it will change our orientation. In fact, complete 180-degree turn we will take from vimukh to unmukh. And then when we will do this for Krishna, then Krishna, by his own free will, swayam eva hi spurati adaha. By his own free will, what will happen is spontaneous remember of Krishna. Krishna will give us that that very absorbing smaranam to us. And there is spurti. So smaran means we are consciously trying to cultivate remembrance of Krishna. And that is the part of our sadhana. See, in the morning when we are chanting, what we are doing? We are cultivating a remembrance of Krishna, right? And what we are doing is we are doing sadhana bhakti. So, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Shravanam. So when we are doing Shravanam and Kirtanam, then there is Smaranam. And Smaranam is one of the limbs of devotional service. So we consciously are striving to remember Krishna. Krishna, this is what I should do. This is what I should do. So Smaranam, we are trying to cultivate remembrance of Krishna. And this Spurati means what? Krishna himself is giving the remembrance. And then when Krishna himself is giving that remembrance, then what happens? It is like this, this wave of spiritual thoughts that take us rapidly, very much instantly closer to Krishna. So Smaranam is, we're trying to move to a particular, destination. Like, when you're swimming, you swim in an ocean. And Spurati means waves come and take us suddenly in that direction. So we do service, we chant the holy name, and that is how we try to remember Krishna. That is our sadhana bhakti. But When Krishna becomes pleased by our, daily endeavors, every day she's coming to temple, every day, in this stipulated hour from 5:30 to 7:30, she's chanting, he's seeing our endeavor. And then by that endeavor, we've just seen the Damodar Leela. So when you have when you endeavor, then you get the mercy of Krishna. So Krishna will send us a wave of that spurti. And when that wave, comes, we are just, we are just attracted towards the Supreme Lord so rapidly. Then when we are actually doing a conscious effort, so when we do a conscious effort, then Krishna will reveal himself. So connection of this, Krishna says that the real understanding of himself will come with Vigyan. And then we realize that, the sweetness of Krishna, the greatness of Krishna. And when we realize the sweetness of Krishna, when we realize the greatness of Krishna, we become tripta. We become so much satisfied. Otherwise, just by theoretical, knowledge, I am not the body, I am the soul. Actually, spiritual happiness is far greater than what our material happiness is. But I feel, as material happiness only for, greater spiritual happiness, and is not there only that we will not be satisfied, we will not be tripta, we will be only restless. Okay, एक होती तुष्टि पुष्टि संतुष्टि, है ना? तो तृप्त means, completely तृप्त हो जाना, completely satisfied. So actually we have to turn inwards. When we turn inwards, then we move forwards towards Krishna. And how will we turn inwards? When we are practicing devotional service, then we turn inwards. Then we relish. Then we become tripta. So that is why he's saying Gyan and Vigyan, tripta Atma. जब ज्ञान लेते हैं और उस पर अमल करते हैं, तो विज्ञान में वो परिवर्तित हो जाए, नॉलेज एंड रियलाइजेशन. So when you take knowledge and you apply it, that turns into realization. And that realization will give you what? That realization will give us satisfaction. That will completely satisfy us. So when there is only Gyan and no Vigyan, then there is no Tripti. We are just, dragged towards sense gratification. And when there is no Vigyan, then not only there is no realization, but there are many doubts also which arise. Oh, whether Krishna is there or not. I don't know whether this process works or not. So a lot of, and that is why Srila Prabhupada is saying over here that by transcendental knowledge, one can remain steady in his conviction. But by mere academic knowledge, one can be easily deluded and confused by apparent contradictions. तो कंफ्यूज हो जाएगा, मीन्स उसके पास डाउट्स होंगे, राइट? सो बाय ट्रांसेंडेंटल नॉलेज, व्हेन प्रभुपाद इज सेइंग दैट व्हेन यू हैव रियलाइज्ड नॉलेज, then one can remain steady in his conviction, firm in his conviction that yes, by chanting the holy name of the Lord, I will definitely one day get pure love of Godhead. And because there is a higher reality which is, perceived, then our consciousness also becomes elevated. But only when I'm having academic knowledge. Now, if you see, we all are academically at least sound people over here, okay? Please don't mind if somebody is not academically sound. But when we were academically sound, were we really happy? No, we were not. Only when we took up to transcendental knowledge, we are actually, experiencing some happiness, right? So, I just know this thing, and this thing is, it's a very simple, dry fact. We have not got any rasa. Then one is easily deluded and confused by the contradictions. So now when he's saying Jnana Vijnana Tript Atma, then such a person becomes, you know, he becomes Sama, Loshtasma and Kanchana. So he becomes self-control. He tries to see everything on an equal platform. And Prabhupada is saying that for him, this all is mundane scholarship and all. He's transcendental because he has nothing to do with this mundane scholarship and mental speculation. So, and all this may be good for others, but it is not of any greater value than pebbles or stones, which means that what? That all that mundane scholarship and mental speculation is as good as, this. So, somebody may be having, one PhD or two PhDs. So, these are like, gold. People spend, years and years to get these degrees. At one level, a person really, is working hard and, to get those degrees to that extent, that can be valued. But we have to understand that just this academic scholarship does not equate to spiritual advancement. A devotee understands the difference between material knowledge and spiritual knowledge or spiritual advancement. And a devotee understands that these degrees are as stones, as it cannot provide me real happiness. So, if you see, when I say gold is really very valuable and stone does not have any value. So, what will the Jnani have? What will be the perspective of a Jnani? He will say neither both of them have any value. The gold also does not have any value because it is material. Pebbles and stones also don't have any value because they both are material. And then the devotee's perspective will be that whatever, whether it is a stone, whether it is gold, I will use it in Krishna's service, and a devotee will value that gold. So if he gets gold, then what will happen? A devotee will make gold ornaments for the Supreme Lord and please the Supreme Lord. And if he gets stones, then he'll make a temple out of that stones. So if you see in Vrindavan temple, the Vrindavan temple construction cements were not really available. So devotees felt that Srila Prabhupada was treating cement bag as gold bags. I just recently had heard from one of Srila Prabhupada said that Prabhupada was a sannyasi, but Srila Prabhupada saw that cement is essential for the service of Krishna, for building this temple for the Supreme Lord, and therefore Srila Prabhupada valued those cement bags. So Srila Prabhupada, if you see, was focusing on more of the utility. In fact, he was focusing more on the devotional utility, the devotional potential. So for devotees, for one's own sake, gold and these stone don't matter. They think, okay, it is material and it is of no use to me. But from the Supreme Lord's perspective or Krishna's perspective, even the stone can matter as gold. That is, that transcendental perspective that a devotee has. So, if you see in this verse, one who's understanding spiritual reality is actually situated in spiritual reality by knowledge. And by realization, that person knows nothing material can make me happy. And that is why he remains completely sama. He remains equipoised and he will not be affected by anything that is material, because he sees everything material as equal only. So that is why if you see, the 6th chapter it takes that Ashtanga Yoga, that we are moving from this Yoga Ruruksha to Aruda stage. That is from the beginning to the advanced stage. And what essentially is it is differentiating the beginning and the advanced stage, is not externals. Externals, there is a difference. In the initial stage, there is karma, the activities, which will help you in advancing, and yoga ruda. He's saying that we will become arudha, we will give up work, but that is not very essential difference. It is not that just trying to give up work, one will become, a roda ruruksha to yoga arudha. What makes that difference is how am I controlling the mind? How am I developing that capacity to become equipoised towards all those externals that are there around me? And that is why then the mind will help me to become, equipoised. So when I'm saying that how this knowledge is moving to implication, and then there are three stages actually in this. One is the hearing, one is the contemplation, and then one is the applying. When I say Shravanam, Mananam, and Nidadhyasanam. So when I'm saying Shravanam, hearing is Shravanam, and Mananam is I'm contemplating. And Nidadhyasanam means I'm applying, or in fact, you can say it is you are internalizing more that. So when we hear that knowledge, it enters into the ear. Then we go further, we contemplate on it, and it is entered into my head. And then at that time, that becomes the jnana. And then we internalize it, we apply it further, then it enters into my heart, and then it becomes vijnana. So the first time when I'm hearing something, as you know, generally we hear so many things and it is entering my ear, it will not register over there. And we'll forget also. We don't give it so much of a thought. And although some thoughts may stay, but most of the thoughts will go away. So the first is hearing and then is contemplating. And Srila Prabhupada has said that one should not hear like a hog. So the hog has big ears, but actually it cannot understand the philosophy. So hearing like a hog means being in an animal consciousness. कि मैंने कुछ सुना है और नहीं सुना है, एक कान से सुन दिया, दूसरे कान से निकाल दिया. And staying in that animal consciousness, not becoming once, you're not raising your consciousness by hearing. And then when you don't raise, you're not becoming even illuminated. Then you don't even become purified, and there is no transformation by hearing. And when we are not transformed by that hearing, then that is hearing like a dog, like a hog. And after hearing, after hearing, we contemplate. So the scriptures say that, for example, the scriptures will say that, see, sense gratification, no, it is leading to misery. And so what we might feel that, oh, how it makes sense, yes, that sense gratification will lead me to misery. So when we hear that time, we think that does it make sense or it does not make sense. When we hear, we realize that we have certain conception, and when we are hearing, we found that it is contradictory. Generally speaking, knowledge involves many connections. So from the unknown to the known, right? You have in the Bloom's taxonomy also, and many authors have spoken on this. So what is known in this case is that, okay, sense gratification gives pleasure. That is what I have heard from childhood, and what I have seen in and around me also, or I've seen in the movies also, I've seen with my elders also. That is what I have heard. And when we hear from the scripture that is sense gratification leads to misery, now if I don't take it seriously, I may think that these religious these religious people, they just think like this, that they don't want to enjoy life at all. But we are going to enjoy life anyways. So we don't have to bother about, the religious stuff, and many people think like this, that they don't take things very seriously, then there has to be a serious consequence to that. And the body is definitely going to grow old, it's going to go diseased, and all that bad karma this person has done could come back as sinful reactions. There are many people, who blame each other. Yeah, because of this person, my life has become hell. And but they don't see that their own actions have put them into this hellish condition. So, so when we hear, we think about it. So the preconceptions that we have, what we hear, if these two contradictions, then we have to seriously think which is right and why it is right. We can't just, shoo away our preconceptions, which may be based on some experiences or some certain assumptions or some notions which we had acquired from a certain source. So we have to challenge, and we have to counter those challenges by conscious contemplation. And we can contemplate. See, scriptures are saying like this, and this is my own knowledge, that sense gratification leads to enjoyment, but scriptures are saying that sense gratification leads to misery. So now when I'm contemplating, this is gyan. I may be thinking like this, which is true. So contemplate me, it seems like sense gratification leads to pleasure, but are the people, when we're seeing around, that those who are enjoying, are they really happy? Most of them, we see that in such happiness, it's, there is, that happiness is very temporary. Like people who are smoking or drinking or, doing some intoxication, these are all harming them. And they drink and they drive, they hurt others, they don't get too much satisfaction. So all this, when we are contemplating, we understand that what I was thinking is wrong, that scriptures say is actually truth. And so in such a way, the knowledge doesn't enter one's ear and leave to another ear, like, is kaan se nikal ke us kaan tak nahi jata hai, but then but it goes to the head and it settles over there. And even if it is settled over there, and it does not mean, but we have accepted it internally that yes, there are various, ways I can also be happy. And there will be various even levels of, in fact, internalization, that one, will intellectually internalize. And when we intellectually understand it, but even after, intellectually understanding it, there may not be too much of emotional internalizing also, which means that yes, I accept it is true. What happens that even if we intellectually internalize certain things, at that time still that problem remains, that the feelings are still there. My feelings towards sense gratification are very much there, but if I have that opportunity, I will pounce towards sense gratification, some now or somehow I will, that but when I am, just give me 1 minute. But when I'm told that I have accepted it intellectually, up to a certain extent, that sense gratification does not lead to pleasure, it leads to misery. But still I feel that no, it leads to pleasure. So then that will require some purification. And that will require some greater realization also, that when purification and realization, they come, and then we get moved to that next level or the next stage. And we have to, so see, all that acceptance, no, that sense gratification leads to misery, that has to be accepted in the heart. So if somebody has never drunk, and he can see misery in, it, that people drink, they lose health, their wealth also, their reputation also, and they will make a fool out of themselves. So he will not feel any temptation about it, but he may not even feel the same with other sense gratification also. So, yeah, sometimes, certain pleasures, they may be very strongly tempted about. But as we become more and more spiritually advanced, more and more sense gratification will be exposed to us, what they really are. Sometimes we don't even know what are sexual pleasures also. So they don't have pleasure, but they have only misery. So they are not sources of happiness. They are only sources of delusion and sources of distress. So they delude us and they cause us suffering also. So gradually when we understand, we move towards Vigyan. And Vigyan means you internalize not only at this level of the head, but we internalize at the level of the heart also. And realization means when the mind accepts something, yes, it is true. When it goes deep in our heart, then even then yes, even I accept it as true. The soul also accepts. Now that is realization. So realization means that which is a whatever is a reality, we accept that is a reality. Like for example, when I say 2 plus 2 is 4, it's a reality. And when I'm counting it on my fingers, 2 and 2, 2 and 2 are 4, then actually I'm accepting the reality that yes, 2 plus 2 is 4 and 2 plus 2 is not 5. So that is a reality that sense gratification leads to misery, but we are not accepting it currently. So when we accept it in real, then it becomes a realization. So we all want to actually, if you see, why are we on this forum? Why all 9 of us are on this forum? Because we want to move towards realization. And gradually we may accept these things that, okay, sense gratification will lead to misery. Or so I should not indulge in sense gratification because I have been told not to do it. But because it is a path which is leading to misery, why will I do it? There are so many other better ways to live my life. And there is the best way to live my life is to serve Krishna. So let me just serve Krishna. So then when we come to this point that I have to serve Krishna, that is Vigyan. So when we get this inner acceptance, so Krishna is saying that Jnana Vijnana Tripta Atma. So when one will have knowledge, one has Gyan, one becomes Tripta. Otherwise, then one has Gyan, but that Gyan or that knowledge will lead to sense gratification. Sense gratification will lead to misery. But that sense gratification will lead to misery, but doesn't have Vigyan in that case. One is hearing that sense gratification leads to misery, but feeling sense gratification leads to happiness. Why am I not allowed to do it? Then there is no tripti over there. It is only a tripti. That is only dissatisfaction. There'll be, person will be irritated. He'll be frustrated. And so gradually when I'm contemplating and living according to it, we will realize it. And that is why why Srila Prabhupada has stressed and why the acharyas have stressed more on Shravanam and Kirtanam. Shravanam means you hear. Kirtanam means whatever you have heard, you speak it out, right? And when you speak it out, then you will have some more realization. So hearing, it will go into the ear, contemplating it will go into the head, and how it goes to the heart when we apply it. So when we apply it, it goes to the heart. So now somebody might, wonder that what comes first? Does applying come first or knowledge, going to the heart comes first? Actually, it goes to both ways. Like whatever little conviction we have, we apply. So then, immediately it turns into Vigyan. So this person who is drinking liquor may not feel that liquor, has misery. When he has that urge to drink. And but when when he tells a no to alcohol, or when he tells no to drinking, then he understands that, see, I have had enough experience and I'm really dissolved and I want to become sober now. So I'm not going to get involved in this. And so, I don't have to do anything with this. Let me just put everything aside. And when we become determined, if determination is there, then one will go beyond this. So if you see, Gyan and Vigyan. So you have a map, then you have a prescription, then you have a recipe, and then there is a manual. So, there will be some map you chalk out for yourself, then some prescription you give, then there is some recipe to it, right? And then there is a manual to it. Like, if I want to go from Mumbai to Pune, right? And unless I make a journey, I cannot go from Mumbai to Pune. So prescription may tell me that, okay, you are having a cold and cough, and you can please take these medicines and you get cured. But unless I will take those medicines, I will not be really cured, right? And if you see, even with this, recipe, like a recipe might tell that, okay, how to make rasgulla. But unless I use that recipe and, cook rasgulla, I cannot have that rasgulla. So I need to make those efforts to make that rasgullas. And, if you buy a washing machine, then there is a manual. The Bhagavad Gita in itself is a big manual. It will tell us how to operate this machine. But unless I operate that machine, until I press those buttons, I cannot use it for any purpose. So the Shastras, they are like a map, a manual prescription. So unless we apply that scriptural knowledge, will not benefit us. And the difference between all this and the scriptural knowledge is, scriptural knowledge are all internal. जितना भी शास्त्रास है वो सारे अंदर की तरफ है, और जब तक हम लोग अप्लाई नहीं करेंगे उसको, तो तब तक हम लोग इंटरनलाइज नहीं करेंगे उसको. We will not internalize that. So whether a person is applying it or not is not, very easily seen. We will know whether we are applying it or not, but even if we are not applying it, others may think that we are applying. And we may be satisfied by making others think that we are applying it, rather than, actually applying it. So, so that should not happen, because if that happens, then it is, what is that word called? Mithyachar. Where, so if we need to internalize the knowledge, then we become Tripta Atma. So, what is preventing Gyan from turning to Vigyan? What is preventing knowledge to turn to realization is, one is my desires. My desires which are originating from my mind, and they're entrapping me. And entrapping even the karmis, you can say. And then there is doubt also, which is, doubts are, doubts, the function of the intelligence is to doubt. So that is originating. Doubt is originating from intelligence. And then what is happening? It is entrapping this jnani. And that is why this jnani, does not get vigyan. Jnani does not get realization. So Krishna says that, Mai arpito manor buddhi, offer your mind and intelligence to me. And why these two only? Why mind and intelligence? Because mind and intelligence, they are comprising of our subtle bodies. And wherever the subtle body goes, we will go there. So if we offer only our, subtle body to Krishna, we offer ourselves to Krishna. By that, what happens? The desire and those doubts that are there, which does not help me to get my, realizations, they will stop, our, uh, these desires. So that desire and doubts, they are stopping us. They're stopping our subtle body from going to Krishna. So desire makes us feel that, oh, there is so much of enjoyment, why should I go to Krishna? And the doubt is, whether Krishna is really real or not, and whether the spiritual world in fact is real or not. And then that creates so many obstacles, and that is why he says doubts are like demons. So doubts and desires both are actually a hurdle. They're an obstacle for me. So when we say desires are entrapping karmis and doubts are entrapping the jnanis, who are we then? Actually, we are worst, because worst of both. Why? Because we have the desire also and we have the doubts also. So we have both the tendency, the karmic tendency also and the jnani tendency also. And that is why, that is why we have to see it from that particular perspective also. So then ahead he says that, let's go to the next shloka. He says that Surin mitrari udasina madhyastha dveshaya bandushu sadhushva api cha papeshu samabuddhir vishishyate. Then he's saying that see the translation and purport. Okay, I'll read the translation. A person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral meditators and envious friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners with an equal mind. And what is he saying over here is that if you see over here, he says that Surin Maitri Udasina, a further advanced person is equipoised to all people. He is, even equal to so Surin is actually friends, friends or well-wishers, or you can say very close well-wishers. And so who is the greatest well-wisher for us over here is Krishna is the greatest well-wisher of all living entities. Okay. So Mitra Ari. The Mitra means friend, and Ari means who? One who is a enemy. Over here it is given. Our translation is given over here. And Udasina. Udasina is, one who is neutral. Neutral means even different from a person who is in between also. Madhyastha. So Udasin is one who does not take anybody's side. And Madhyastha means what? One who tries to act as a mediator to bring that conflict resolution by, trying to act as a discussion channel for two opposing, people. And Dvesha. So Dvesha is a person who is envious. Dveshya, one who is envious. And Bandhu, one who is a friend or a relative, you can say. And then he's saying that Sadhushu. Sadhushu means what? One who is a saintly person. One who is a pious person. Okay, so Papeshu, person who is sinful. And he's saying that Samabuddhi. So over here, Samabuddhi Vishishyate, one who sees all of them equally. So Vishishyate means such a person is higher. He's far advanced. And Krishna is saying that why such a person is advanced? Not only because he sees things equally, but also people equally. So, like, if you see in a room, we see many things, we see many different things. And we see many, okay, for example, in my room, I have a glass, I have a table, I have a laptop, I have a mouse, and I have some books around with me over here. Okay. And so, and we're thinking that, okay, see, all these things are made up of matter, and none of them can actually make me happy. Actually, this is one level of equality. But things just stay at one place. Whereas people can act, some people are kind, and some people are, angry people, some people are negligent, some people are, loving, some are caring. So, different people, different kinds, we need to be equal towards all people. Now, it is very difficult. How is that possible? Krishna is saying that, he's saying that, uh, because over here, if you see, there was one shloka in the 5th chapter where he said that, Shunikecha Pakecha Pandita Samadarshina. Person who is a yogi, he's seeing all living entities equal. So, about the people, what is talked in this verse is actually Brahmana. Swapacha. Swapacha is that dog and dog eater. So, Brahmanas are top in the society, and these dog eaters, the Swapacha, are, in the mode of ignorance. Brahmanas in the mode of goodness. And right at the bottom, he's put these Swapacha people. So, Krishna is saying to see, all equal. And what he talked about is talking about even humans and animals also. So in this verse, Krishna is focusing on human beings. There are different kinds of human beings, so many type of people, so many different types of natures, their temperaments, their looks, and the way they behave, the way they talk, walk, sit, and all these things, So he talks about relationship which we have with different human beings. And so, similarly, we also have a relationship with different animals, like the cows or the dogs or the hogs. So the point is to have an equal vision to all. And when we have this equal vision, then what will happen is we stop seeing other people based on their, potentials to provide sense gratification. We see people, because sometimes, see, some people make relationships thinking that, oh, he's a rich man, or he's, a famous man, let me have, some connect with this person. But we see people based on their potential to provide some sense gratification. Mujhe is relation mein kya milega? And if a person is very good looking, he's he's attracting the glance of everyone. Why people want to look at that person? So they get pleasure. They're getting the pleasure of the eye. Like, we have this Miss World and Miss Universe and Mr. World and Mr. Universe, all these competitions we have. So what is happening? They get pleasure for their eyes. And again, some people, they look old. People even don't notice also such people, because their deciding point is how much sense gratification can this person give to me. If some person is looking very wealthy, people will come and meet him in the office. And, maybe, of course, this person will even bribe. But if somebody is wearing a very, fata-futa cloth, and then people will say, okay, wait, in the queue. And then this person is kept waiting for a long time. So a person who has this material level consciousness, he sees people based on the potentials, that how much sense gratification can this other person provide me. So when we have given up sense gratification, and we understand that this sense gratification cannot make me happy, then it is then we are on this Yoga Ruruksha stage. So Yoga Ruda stage is, uh, 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 Sarva Sankalpa Sannyasi. So when you say Sarva Sankalpa Sannyasi, we just discussed it in the third shloka. And this person is a sannyasi who has given up the desire for sense gratification. And he knows that nothing can make me happy. And then he will not evaluate people based on how much sense gratification can that particular person provide me. That, and that is why he'll have an equal vision. So Krishna says that those who have an equal vision, they can come forward and they can, they can take up to the sannyasa, and then they can renounce and go out of the world somewhere, and he can go to the forest. One who is not addicted to sense gratification, who has given up sense gratification. So this is what he's saying in the 9th shloka. Let's go to the 10th shloka. So in the 10th shloka, what he's saying is, so from here, because see, Krishna has described the perfectional stage of Ashtanga Yoga. So now Krishna will describe the activities in the practice. So that is the method to achieve that goal of perfection. What are the different methods? And what are the different stages of Ashtanga Yoga? So from the 10th shloka to the 32nd shloka or 33rd shloka, these are all the stages of Ashtanga Yoga. So in the 10th shloka, he will speak about the practice of Yoga Ruda stage. Then in the 11th to 14th, he will talk about the basic practices of Ashtanga Yoga. Then he will speak about the goal of Ashtanga Yoga. Then what recommendations are there in the Ashtanga Yoga. He'll speak about that. And what is the perfectional stage of Ashtanga Yoga? What realizations will that person have in the Ashtanga Yoga? So this all will be spoken. So what I'll be doing is that we will be reading only translations, and wherever I feel necessary, we will just halt over there and just check out, okay? So he's saying that a transcendental should always engage his body and mind and self in relation with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. So this is what he is saying in this particular shloka, that engaging body, mind, and the self, that is the soul. And he's saying that he's saying that just 1 minute, okay? Yeah, so he's saying that not in a crowded place, but in a secluded place. So, because why in a crowded place? Because when you have a crowded place, then what happens now? There is chit-chatting going on. So that is why he should live in a secluded place, and he should always carefully control his mind. Which means what? He should have a watch over his mind. Whether, my mind is listening to me or not, whether I'm negotiating with my mind or I am falling prey to my mind's demands. That's what he's trying to say. And then ahead he's saying that Krishna is saying that to practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusa grass and on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat belt should neither be too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses, and activities and fixing the mind on one point. So this is what he's saying over here, that mm, mm, he has to sit firmly in a clean place, in a sacred place, and not too high, not too low. So these are basic practices of Ashtanga Yoga. This is what he's talking about. The next he's saying, again, the practices are continued. He's saying that, then what should he do? Then one should hold one's body, neck and head erect in a straight line. So you sit very straight and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. Okay. Somewhere in the second canto also, the similar thing has been described by when a person who is this Paramatma Vadi person, one who is meditating on the Paramatma. Okay, so he's also having the similar practice. And then he's saying that, what is the goal of Ashtanga Yoga? He's saying that, thus practicing constant control of the body and mind and activities, the mystic transcendentalist, his mind regulated, attains to the kingdom of God by cessation of material existence. So, from that Ashtanga Yoga, that yoga ladder that we have, okay, from Karma Yoga to Nishkam Karma Yoga, to Sakam to Nishkam, from Nishkam to Ashtanga Yoga, if he comes, then, he has two paths. Either, he wants to meditate on the Brahma Jyoti, or he wants to meditate on the Paramatma. But if he chooses to meditate on the Paramatma, then he is practicing to control the mind and activities, and he focuses on the limbs of the Supreme Lord, and that is how he attains that particular abode of the Supreme Lord, Lord Krishna's kingdom. And then what are the other recommendations of Ashtanga Yoga? Let's see that. He's saying that there is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi, O Arjuna, if one eats too much, or eats too little, sleeps too much, or does not sleep enough. So that is why, if you see, Prabhupada has always mentioned that health comes first. And he had recommended that when you sleep at proper time, you are able to get up also at a proper time. So if you sleep by 9, you can easily wake up by 2 or 3 o'clock. But if you sleep by 10, 11, then it's difficult to wake up early in the morning. So regulation of sleep and diet for the yogis. And somewhere even that regulation is even for we Krishna conscious people over here. And that is why he is saying that that regulation is very much required. So in the next shloka, he is saying that yuktaharas viharasya, yukta chetasya karmasu, yukta swapna bodhasya, yogo bhavati dukhaha. He's saying that one who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. So if I am regulating my tongue, I'm regulating my sleep and my other activities, then I can very easily mitigate all my material pains. All karmas are gone. Even sharirik dukh bhi chala jata hai when I'm practicing this particular yoga system. So not to eat too much or too little, or not to sleep too much or too little, and all the habits are regulated. So then he's saying that, what is the perfection in Ashtanga? Yukta. What is this Yukta? So he's saying that when the yogi, by practice of yoga, disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, he is said to be well established in yoga. So disciplining mental activities or consciousness, and you're fixing yourself in transcendence, and without any, when you can fix yourself in transcendence, and when you don't have any material desires, right? So he's giving an example. So ahead he says that as a lamp is windless in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self. So this yogi whose mind is controlled, he'll always remain steady in his meditation to the Supreme Lord. So the mind has to be controlled. And then what realizations he has. So he's saying that, so see from 20 to 23, 4 shlokas, what is he saying? In the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness. That is why if you see somebody has boundless transcendental happiness, he starts crying and all that Ashta Sattvic Vikar will be there. His hairs will stand on end and he'll become lighter than a cotton wool. He'll become heavier than a mountain. All these 11, transformations will be seen in him. And he's saying that Joseph, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. So his senses also become transcendental. Divya ban jate hai uske senses bhi. Established thus, one never departs from the truth. And what is the truth? What is that truth? Sense gratification leads to misery. And I am supposed to actually be a spiritual person. All these material things are not anyways going to give me any happiness. Only spirituality will give me happiness. And upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. But being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom for all miseries arising from that material contact. So, here he says that in this way he says that when somebody is situated in determination, when he's determined, like Dhruv Maharaj was determined, then nobody could shake him. None of the greatest difficulty also could shake him. Even if he is put on a road, that person is not shaken. So this is actually the state of samadhi or trance. And actually that is real freedom from material misery. So if you see, there are 2 types of samadhis. Okay. Just give me 1 minute. There are 2 types of samadhis. One is samprajnata samadhi, and the other is asamprajnata samadhi. So sampragnata samadhi, it will involve meditation on gross or subtle objects, and then that person will come to this transcendental position by many philosophical researches and all. And the other samadhi, asamprajnata samadhi, it will involve meditation with no object. So one becomes transcendental to all sorts of happiness derived from the senses. So that's how this person enters into a samadhi state. So he's saying that okay. And now in the next 2 shlokas, he's saying that what methods should I take to attain this yoga ruda stage? Okay. He says that one should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. Sometimes, our determination weakens and we feel that, oh, I'm chanting from so many years, I'm not seeing any transformation, or whether this process really works or not. No, I don't have to be deviated. One should abandon without exception all material desires, born of mental speculation, and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. So, practice with determination, with nishchay, and without deviation, and giving up all material desires. So these material desires, they're born of mental speculation. I keep on speculating, oh, when will I get this? When will I get that? Will I get this or not? If I do this, I'll get this or not. But we get according to our own karmas, right? So giving up that material desire also, I want this, I want that, all that. And then controlling all the senses on all the sides by the mind. So controlling the senses on all sides, ears, nose, eyes, the belly, the genital, the skin, everything controlling on that. And then he's saying that, what is the final stage? Then he's saying, gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence, sustained by full conviction. And thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. So, and ahead is giving a success formula. What is he saying? He's saying that yato yato nischalati manaschanchalam asthiram tatastato niyamatmedat atmani eva vasam nayed. So, Krishna is giving the success formula for yoga. He's saying that yato yato nischalati, from wherever this mind is wandering, because the mind has this flickering nature, that unsteady nature, because of passion and some past attachments. So he's saying that wherever your mind wanders, because of its flickering nature, then what you should do? Tatas tato niyam atmadet. You just withdraw it. You must withdraw that mind and you should bring it back. And atmani eva vasham nayet. Bring it back under the control of the self. Atmani. When you say Atmani means yourself. So when we are endeavoring to bring this mind back, then what will this yogi experience? He will experience that samadhi stage. And he comes to this stage of Brahmabhuta Prasannatma na sochati na kanchati samasarveshu bhuteshu mad bhakti labate param. He will come on the Brahmabhuta stage. So he'll come on this Prashant Atma Manasa hi enam yoginam sukha uttamam upayati shanta rajasam brahma bhuta lakshaman akalmasham. So he will come to this Brahma Bhuta platform, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma platform, and and that is why this Brahma Bhutam, when he comes to this Brahma Bhuta Ashram, he becomes liberated even in this life. He becomes a Jivan Mukta person. The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He is beyond the mode of passion. He realizes his qualitative identity with the Supreme, and thus he is freed from all reactions to past deeds. So all his, reactions to his past misdeeds will be eradicated, and he'll be freed from that. Now, what is the vision of this particular yogi? When he becomes this, after attaining this perfected stage, what will he experience then? So he's saying over here that he's saying that Thus, the self-control yogi constantly engaged in yoga practice becomes free from all material contamination. सभी कल्मशों से मुक्त हो जाता है and achieves the highest stage of perfect happiness in transcendental loving service to the Lord. So this is what he is attaining, that he is seeing the Paramatma or Krishna everywhere, and he knows his constitutional position, that I am a part and parcel of Krishna, and I'm supposed to, as a part, I'm supposed to serve the whole. So he's saying that Sarvabhutastham Atmam Sarvabhutani Chatmani Ikshate Yogam Yuktatma Sarvatra Samadarshana. He's saying that a true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, the self-realized person sees me, the same Supreme Lord everywhere. So, he's seeing everywhere. That is why Krishna is never lost to such a person, or nor is this person ever lost to Krishna, because he's seeing Krishna everywhere and he sees everything in Krishna. So this is actually, he's seeing, he's seeing Krishna everywhere. And then when he has attained this perfection, then what does he do? What are the actions, Papa? What are the actions of a perfect yogi? So this particular yogi, what he does is, for one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I'm never lost, or nor is ever lost to me. Okay, this I've discussed. And then he's saying, Sarva Bhuta Sthitam Yomam Bhajanti Evatman. He's saying that such a yogi who engages in worshipful service of the super soul, knowing that I and the super soul are one, he always remains in me in all circumstances. So, remaining means what? That he worships the Supreme Lord as the only all in all, the super soul. And that is why he exists also in the Supreme Lord in all circumstances. And then what does he do? Further, he says that such a person, who is a perfect yogi, the definition of perfect yogi is saying, he is a perfect yogi who by comparison of his own self sees the true equality of all living beings in both their happiness and their distress. So, seeing all beings equally by comparison of to his own self. So he's comparing himself to the others and he considers their happiness and distress his own. Para dukha dukhi, है ना? Para sukha sukhi. तो वैसा. So if you see, Arjuna felt that this equal vision cannot be very long lasting, and one can maintain such equal vision for only friends and somebody whom he is neutral to, who really does not know him as such, but not for enemies, because he has to fight with the opposite party. So Arjuna now speaks to Krishna that the practice of Ashtanga Yoga is very difficult. And from the 33rd shloka onwards, he will say that, he'll say that, see, this yoga system that you have summarized, it very is impractical for me. It is not even endurable to me, because my mind is very restless and unsteady. What should I do then? So then Krishna now brings in the necessity for controlling the mind. And this in itself is a very big, discussion point. And I would like to discuss this on next Saturday. So we'll conclude on next Saturday this particular chapter. And then I'll announce more announcements also. And I'll be actually declaring the examination dates after discussing with y'all. Y'all only will tell me what is the examination date and I'll set that date for y'all. So any questions, queries, doubts? Anybody has? Sorry, I have a bad throat. Just give me 1 minute. Anybody has any doubts, queries, questions? Is everybody awake?
Yes, Mataji.
Sleeping. Afternoon time after lunch. We've had a class. Okay. Okay. Everybody is awake. Fine. So we'll meet on next Saturday, same time, 8 o'clock. And we'll conclude this chapter. And we'll see how we can go ahead with our examinations and other dates and all, OBAs and all. I'll be giving that OBA topics also. I think I have given the OBA topics in the PDF file. Yeah.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. So have you all finished writing the OBAs or no? Still work in progress.
Mataji, we will write after this
Okay,
chapter
work in
end.
progress. Okay, okay. Work
Yeah.
in progress. Okay, okay, fine, fine. So, okay, dear devotees, thank you so much for being with me. And we'll meet on next Saturday. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna.
Mataji.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Dhanwad, dhanwad.